Hi, in this video I'm gonna show you how to create a beautiful and realistic feather step by step, and you can make it even if you are a complete beginner. So grab your pencil and paper and come to draw with me. If you don't know me, I'm Lino. I'm an artist and the creator of the construction routine technique for creating realistic drawings. And if you don't know what it's about and if you want to learn realistic drawings from scratch, just click in the first link of the description or in the link on my bio and you can watch a full lesson on how this technique works and how it can help you to achieve a realistic drawing starting from zero. Just click there and watch. With that said, let's go straight to the tutorial.
So first let's go to the wrong shape, the wrong way to make feathers. Is there a wrong way to draw a feather?
Yes, if your goal is to make it realistic.
But if your goal is just to draw randomly, then there is no wrong or right way. However, to bring a realistic aspect, which is our case, there are rules to follow. First mistake, drawing without making an initial sketch, starting by just scribbling right away and making lines without even doing any prior planning. It might work out, but it's not ideal. Second mistake, if your goal is to achieve a realistic effect, the outlines of the drawing must not be exposed with lines. Otherwise, it will just give a cartoonish aspect to the drawing and not a realistic one. And now, these small openings that we created are to simulate the opening of the barbs of the feather. But in this case here, the details are very symmetrical, and it actually conveys more of an aspect of a plant, leaf, and tree than anything else. And it's no use trying to create the barbs of the feather with some lines like this, because it won't be enough and will continue to look like a tree or plant leaf. It's not ugly, but it's also far from being realistic. So now let's see a way to make this drawing realistic. Everything in the simplest way possible, so even a beginner starting from scratch can do it too. So the first mistake I mentioned was not starting with a sketch, with a preliminary sketch as planning. Therefore, we will make a sketch with very light lines initially, so we can know the position that the drawing of the feather will take and also its formatting. I will make it approximately this thickness here on one side and the other. I will do the bottom part here. And the tip I will make here upwards, it can be here. Next, we can connect these points. We already know where all the ends will be. Notice that I made the tip slightly curved for this area, with a curvature more or less like this. After that, we can make this central division of the feather, starting from this area here at the tip, and curving down to the bottom. As for the thickness, we can draw a line beside it, and there we have the thickness. Now for this tip here at the bottom, we can just continue from here. And just out of curiosity, I looked up what the name of this part of the feather is, and the name is calamus. Until here, everything is very simple. So now let's start refining our idea, still in the sketch phase. Remember the small separations we made on these sides here of the feather barbs. In our wrong drawing, everything was very symmetrical and all the same size. Here, we will do it differently. Let's start by making some divisions here on one side. We can start here. We can also make one more division down here, and another one here in this region. Now on the other side, we try to make it as asymmetrical as possible. We can make two divisions here, right here. For this other region, we can just make one more.
And now we are ready to create the divisions.
To start, before we make these divisions, we need to know that the feather has a directionality to its barbs. Therefore, the details come out from this central region, going towards the ends on one side and the other, but the lines and patterns do not follow this way here.
Instead, this is the angle of the texture.
However, there is one more observation. The textures are not geometrically perfect in this way here. On the contrary, these textures curve. So you can make a line coming out from the central region and then curve it to the side, and on the opposite side, the same way. So I will erase these initial texture patterns. I will adjust this line a little in the central region.
And from here, we start creating the lines, already knowing what the angle of the lines are and also the shape.
So I said there will be a division here. Right here, there is another division. So let's start with the line curving nicely in this part. Some other parts we can leave a little more irregular, for example, sticking out a bit more from the top. And we can make larger spaces too, between one side and the other. For example here, As for the bottom part, we can just continue like this. Remembering that this here is just an initial division.
Now let's do the same thing here for the other side. To be faster, let's do it this way. And now let this opening here much bigger.
As for this part, we can make an irregular detail, make it a little smaller, and we continue the lower part here, further away. And we complete this lower part.
Now it's just a matter of being patient. Things will start to take shape more and more.
Once we have everything we need, we can start working on the shading. I'll just erase these lines here, on the right side and also on the left side. And we can start. To make the drawing darker, I will use a 6B pencil. This way I can make some parts darker, to do the shading with a more well-elaborated depth. But you can use any pencil you want. It will work the same way. To start, let's darken only the central region and also the tips, at the ends of the barbs of the feather. Perfect. We have made the first darkening in the central region here. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a kind of shading in some areas, at the ends of the feather and also in this central region, in some areas where there is an opening in the barb of the feather. Come draw along with me. Let's start with this tip here at the top. Only with basic lines. There's no need to refine or add texture. We did the tip here. Now we can connect with this central region here of the feather. Perfect. Now we can do the same thing at the ends in some areas. Let's do it, for example, here on this side. Let's do it here at this division on one side. Also here where there is another division. Also in this other division here. Further down as well. I am always doing it at the tips where there is an opening. Also down here. Let's do the same thing here on the other side. We have some openings here, also on this part, and also down here. In this opening here, I will make this whole side darker. There are two divisions like this. And one more detail here for the end. Perfect. We have already just shaded the regions on the side. Now we can also do it leaving the central region, like this. As I said, in this region here, the pattern is like this. But for these parts here, you can change it. For example, like this. The same here on the other side. But let's not make it as dark as this side here, so that our drawing doesn't get too dark. But let's do it in some regions. Cool. Our feather is already taking shape. Let's just finish our shading now. I will make a layer of graphite over this lighter area here. But we need to know exactly where the barbs of the feather are to avoid shading the outside. So I'm going to finish doing the outlines on the lines of the feather. Perfect. Now we can start. I'm going to make a light layer only in these areas here, where there is no graphite layer. Now on the left side. Here there will be a big opening. Lino, and the texture of the drawing? Don't worry, I don't like to worry about texture right away. So now that we've already made the shading layers here, I'm just going to take a division here between some areas and darken it more, so it doesn't all have the same shade. This area here I'm going to leave darker. Also here, I'm going to leave this central area a little darker to make it a bit irregular. For this part here, we can make it darker towards the tip. Like this. Here too. Here at the division. In this part here, we can darken the bottom part. And here we can darken the tip. And the side here can be like this. The same thing on the other side here. Darken the tips more here, creating even a kind of gradient inward. Done. I think this way the filling is already good. Now we can go to the final details, for the texture details and to finish our drawing once and for all. Until now the drawing lacks definition and has very little resolution. What we are going to do is add resolution to the drawing. Add details. To do this, how are we going to create the texture? So I'm going to take the pencil and sharpen its tip. That's it. I sharpened the pencil and made it really sharp, and now we are ready to start all the texturing. And the texture will be a set of lines, following the patterns of something. In this case, the pattern will be those barbs of the feather. So what we are going to do, we will make the lines here, drawing line by line, like this. Between one line and another, we have to leave a little space. In some parts, you can also refine the tip, like this. That's why it's so important for the pencil tip to be sharp. You can make some parts darker like this too. The tip is already becoming round, so I'm going to sharpen it a bit more. And let's continue creating all the lines, in the same direction and in the same pattern. Now on the other side as well, being very careful not to touch your hand where you have already done the shading. Continuing now to the central region. Perfect, but we're not done yet. There are two more things that need to be done. The first is to create some details in this central region. We can create some isolated lines, like this. Just to bring some details and not leave this part of the drawing without texture details. For this area here, we can do a small shading on the side. Like this, and to bring an even better charm, we can refine the tips of the feather in several parts here. For example, here in this part. Here too. Also in these areas here. And in this lower region of the drawing, we can create several more curved and separated details, less standardized. For example, like this. Lifting the pencil from the paper. Some other details more separated and curved for opposite regions. and here at the bottom as well. This detail here turned out to be too big. I'll just take the eraser and erase. A few more details to refine. And the drawing is finished.
That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to click the like button here. And if you want to learn realistic drawings with me, just click the first link of the description or the link in my bio. See you in the next video.